I want to start this video with a confession. When people call me about moving to the Seattle area, and I work with a lot of relocation buyers, tech professionals coming in for Microsoft, Amazon, Google, I sometimes know within the first 5 minutes of a conversation that they are about to make a really expensive mistake. Not because they are doing anything wrong. They have done their homework. They have watched videos, read articles, asked people in their company Slack channels. The problem is that most of what they have found was written either to impress them or to sell them something. And the neighborhoods that look best in photos, the ones that everyone on the internet agrees are the best places to live, some of them are exactly that. And some of them are charging you a premium that actual lived experience simply does not justify. I have been a licensed realtor in Washington State since 2016. I work in King County, Sammamish County, and across the greater Seattle metro every single day. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what I actually tell my clients in a private consultation. 5 neighborhoods in the greater Seattle metro that I think are significantly overpriced for what you are actually getting. And for each one, a smarter alternative that delivers nearly the same lifestyle for a meaningfully lower price point. This video is going to save some of you a lot of money. Let's get into it. Let's start with the market context. Before I get into the neighborhoods, I need to give you the current market backdrop, because it matters to everything I'm about to say. We are in a very different market than we were in 2021 and 2022. Here's what the data shows right now. As of spring 2026, the median sale price for all homes across King County is tracking around $860K. Single family homes alone are closer to $975K. Now compare that to the east side, Bellevue, Kirkland, Redmond, Sammamish, where the combined median price can run up to $1.52 million in Q1 of 2026. Down from $1.68 million the year before. And here's what makes this movement so interesting. Active listings on the east side are up over 50% year over year. Pending sales are down. In cities like Redmond, median prices fell 10% year over year in early 2026. Sammamish was down 7% in 2025. Seattle's overall median price has been flat to slightly negative compared to its peak of $782,000 recorded in mid-2025. What that means for you as a buyer: you have leverage you have not had in this market since before COVID. However, and this is the critical part, that leverage is not evenly distributed. Most sought-after zip codes are still holding their prices better because emotional demand is keeping them elevated even as fundamentals soften. The overpricing problem is most severe exactly where the Instagram photos are the best. And one more thing that often surprises people coming in from out of state: Seattle's overall traffic has gotten measurably worse. Drivers in the Seattle area lost an average of 63 hours to congestions in 2024, a 9% jump from 2023. Seattle now ranks 10th in the nation for traffic congestion. That number matters a lot when we talk about where you actually live versus where you work. Okay, with that foundation, let's get into it. Overpriced neighborhood at number 5, Sammamish. Let's start with Sammamish, and let me say this upfront. I know people who love living in Sammamish, including me, and are happy with their decision. This isn't about saying it's a bad place to live. It's about asking whether the price you are paying matches the value you are receiving. At its peak, the Sammamish median was about $1.57 million. Even after a 7% correction in 2025, you are still talking well above $1.4 million for a typical single-family home. For that kind of money, here's what you are actually getting on a day-to-day basis. Sammamish is a plateau. It was designed around the car. There is no real downtown. There is no walkable urban core. The city's own transportation master plan, which was studied in 2024 by traffic engineering firm DKS Associates, acknowledged the congestion issue. Morning and evening rush hours on key corridors like 228th Avenue are running 15,000 to 24,000 cars a day. The city has been studying roundabouts and additional turn lanes as solutions. That is not a neighborhood that has figured out its traffic problem. Here is the buyer profile I see who gets the best value from Sammamish. Families with multiple kids in the school system, primarily one earner commuting to a single Eastside campus, ideally Microsoft or Bellevue, who want space, good schools, and a quiet suburban lifestyle and are genuinely not bothered by getting in the car for everything. If that is you, Sammamish makes sense. But if you are a dual income tech household, if both people have offices in different parts of the east side, and if you are coming from a city where walkability was part of your lifestyle and you assume you recreate that here, at $1.4 million plus, you are going to get disappointed. The smarter alternative is Issaquah. Issaquah has everything Sammamish is trying to be. It actually has a real town. Downtown Issaquah along Gilman Boulevard has restaurants, coffee, a grocery anchor, the Regal Theater, and the beginning of genuine street life. The Issaquah School District is consistently ranked among the top in Washington State, comparable to the Sammamish schools. You are sitting right on I-90, which means your commute options are significantly better. You are closer to Downtown Bellevue, you are closer to Seattle, and you are at the foot of Cougar Mountain Regional Wildlife Park and Tiger Mountain, two of the best trail systems in the entire metro area, literally outside your door. The median in Issaquah has been running around 1.1 million for single family homes. That is a difference of roughly 300k to 400k compared to Sammamish. For a better commute position, more walkability and equal school quality. When I walk buyers through this comparison side by side and show them the actual numbers, the Sammamish premium becomes very hard to defend. Overpriced neighborhood 4, Downtown Kirkland waterfront. Kirkland is a genuinely special city on this side of the lake. I want to be honest about that. The waterfront is real and it's my personal favorite. The restaurant scene downtown is one of the best on the east side. The proximity of Google's campus has brought energy and investment to the city, and the Kirkland urban development has added a level of urban amenity that most east side cities still don't have. All of that is very real, and the market knows it. Kirkland citywide median for single-family homes reached around 2.19 million in 2025, an 8% year-over-year increase, one of the strongest gain on the east side, and that's the citywide number. The waterfront and marina adjacent properties in 8033 are significantly higher. Here's the overpricing problem with Kirkland waterfront specifically. What stretches? That stretch of shoreline along the marina and downtown is genuinely lovely, but it is a short stretch of shoreline. You are paying an enormous premium to be within the walking distance of that specific section of the lake. And what you are not being told is that the downtown Kirkland traffic and parking situation has gotten materially worse over the last 3 to 4 years. More density, more residents, more visitors. But the road infrastructure hasn't kept up. On summer weekends, trying to get in or out of downtown Kirkland by car is genuinely painful. There's also the Google dependency factor that I think sophisticated buyers should understand. Kirkland's premium is substantially built on Google's expanded presence. If Google's east side footprint contracts, and we have already seen tech companies pull back from real estate in waves, that premium becomes structurally vulnerable in a way that most buyers don't price in. The smarter alternative, Kenmore or Bothell. These two cities are my strongest value recommendation on the northeast side right now. Kenmore sits at the northern tip of the Lake Washington. You genuinely have lake access. St. Edward State Park is right there with trails dropping down to the water. You are not far from Kirkland. The median in Kenmore runs around 1.03 million, which is less than half the Kirkland waterfront premium. Yes, you are not within walking distance of downtown Kirkland's restaurant strip, but you are in a quieter, more spacious neighborhood with lake access and nature access that rivals anything you'd get in Kirkland. Bothell is having its moment. The revitalized downtown among the Sammamish River has been genuinely transformed over the last several years. The North Shore School District is excellent, consistently top rated in the state. You have got quick access to both SR 522 and SR 405. Proximity to Kirkland, to Redmond, to Kenyon Park's Tech Corridor. The median has been running 1 million to 1.1 million. The quality of life per dollar in Bothell right now, in my professional opinion, is the best value on the entire northeast side. Overpriced neighborhood 3, Mercer Island. Mercer Island is one of the most emotionally compelling addresses in the entire market. The concept of living on an actual island in the middle of Lake Washington with quick bridge access to both Seattle and Bellevue genuinely works for a specific type of buyer. Top rated Mercer Island School District, private quiet streets, wooded lots, gorgeous park system. It checks real boxes. The median home price on Mercer Island is now around 2.3 million. Northwest MLS data from early 2026 shows Mercer Island at the upper tier of east side pricing per square foot. I'm going to give you my honest take on who Mercer Island actually works for and who it does not, because most agents won't say this clearly. It works for you if you have school-age children who will be in the Mercer Island School District. You regularly commute in both directions, east to Bellevue and west into Seattle. The island geography solves a logistics problem for a household, and you have a budget where 2.3 million does not require you to stretch. It does not work for you if you are a single earner commuting primarily to one side of the lake. You are paying for bi-directional commute convenience. You will use roughly half as often as you think. Mercer Island's entire value proposition rests on I-90. That is the only way on and off the island, and this is not a theoretical risk. It is a documented, recent, real one. In January 2024, an expansion joined on the East Channel Bridge. The I-90 span between Mercer Island and Bellevue failed structurally. Eastbound I-90 was reduced to 3 lanes for weeks. WS DOT warned of 15 to 20 minute delays during morning commute. Worse in the afternoons. That repair process dragged on for over 20 months and required a full 16-day lane closure in September 2025 to finally fix it. The bridge was built in 1988. Nearly 75,000 vehicles cross it daily. When your entire neighborhood's access to the rest of the world runs through one aging bridge, that is a systematic risk. that buyers are not adequately pricing in at 2.3 million median price point. The other things I'll say about Mercer Island, with Sound Transit's Eastlink extension now connecting Mercer Island station to Seattle and Bellevue, which was still in final testing and delayed multiple times, with an opening target of April 2026, the light rail is genuinely a positive development. But it also raises a question: if light rail connectivity was one of the commute justifications and that's now available from other areas too, does the island premium still hold? The smarter alternative, Lower Kennydale, Renton. This one surprises people every single time I bring it up, and I love that because that's exactly where the value is. The Kennydale neighborhood in Renton sits on the southern shore of Lake Washington. Lower Kennydale specifically is waterfront and near waterfront. You can get homes with private docks, with Lake Washington views, with west-facing sunset exposure over Mercer Island and the Olympics in the distance. The setting is genuinely beautiful. Gene Collin Memorial Beach Park is right there, a regional destination park with boat launches, tennis courts, walking path, and the kind of active lake lifestyle that people pay a fortune for on Mercer Island. You have got direct access to I-405 running north-south, Bellevue to north, SeaTac to the south. The Seattle Seahawks training facility is nearby. The Landing, a larger outdoor retail and dining center, is minutes from the neighborhood. Kennydale waterfront properties run from roughly 1.2 million for entry level up to 3 million for newer construction with direct lake frontage. The citywide Kennydale median was tracking around 98900K as of early 2025 compared to Mercer Island at 2.3 million median. You are accessing very similar lake living, lake views, lake access, water activities at a fraction of that price. The honest trade-off: Renton does not have Mercer Island School District prestige, and it does not have the same island privacy. But for buyers whose primary drive is lake lifestyle and not a specific school district, the value math here is simply extraordinary. Overpriced neighborhood number 2, West Bellevue, Medina. Now we are getting into the tier of this market where I have to be careful about how I frame this, because there is genuinely no ceiling on what someone will pay if they want the absolute best. So let me be precise. I'm not saying West Bellevue and Medina are bad investments. In some cases, they are legitimate generational wealth holds. What I'm saying is, for most buyers who are looking at this corridor and stretching to be there, you are paying a massive address premium above and beyond what the physical home, the location utility, or even the school district alone justifies. Here are the current numbers. West Bellevue had a median sale price of 1.97 million in first quarter 2026, and it actually jumped 23% year over year. One of the few Eastside markets that went the other way while others softened. That tells you something. This is a market driven by a status demand, not just functional demand. When prices go up while everything around them softens, that's a premium detaching from underlying value. And Medina, which is essentially the pinnacle of this market, had a median reported at 4.5 million in Northwest MLS data. There are currently listed properties in this corridor priced above $17 million. This is Bill Gates' neighborhood. This is where some of the wealthiest households in the country have put down roots. Here's what that means for the median buyer considering this area. You are paying for the zip code. You are paying for the address. The school, Bellevue School District, is genuinely exceptional, but you can access that same school district from multiple other neighborhoods at a much lower price point. The waterfront in Medina is protected, private, and rare, but for buyers who don't specifically need waterfront, you are paying waterfront pricing for a non-waterfront home just because of the address. The REIT, Washington's real estate excise tax, hits its highest graduated tier on the highest price sales. At prices above 3 million, the state is taking 3% on the portion above that threshold. On a 4.5 million purchase, that's a meaningful additional cost that most buyers from out of state don't fully account for until they're sitting at the closing table. The smarter alternative, Clyde Hill or the South Bellevue. Clyde Hill is one of the most criminally underappreciated values on the east side relative to what it delivers. It sits on elevated ground above Bellevue with sweeping views. Lake Washington to the west, downtown Seattle, the Olympic Mountains, same Bellevue School District, quick access to SR 520 and I-405. The median runs around 2.3 million. Premium, yes, but compared to West Bellevue's non-waterfront properties and the Medina address premium, you are accessing the same school district, comparable views, and comparable prestige for meaningfully less. South Bellevue, and I'm talking about the corridor including Newport Hills, Somerset, and the areas around Newport Way, is even more accessible, typically tracking around 1.5 to 1.75 million for comparable square footage. Same Bellevue School District, excellent trail and park access, and increasingly newer construction mixing in that gives you more modern finishes without the custom built price tag of West Bellevue. If I'm a buyer with a $2 million budget and someone tells me I can choose between a non-waterfront West Bellevue home at $2 million, where I'm paying substantially for the address, or a Clyde Hill home with views at the same price, where I'm paying for location quality, I'm choosing Clyde Hill every single time. Overpriced neighborhood number 1, Downtown Redmond, Microsoft Campus Corridor. I saved Redmond for last, and I want to be really careful here because my point is specific. I'm not saying all of Redmond is overpriced. I'm saying the campus adjacent and downtown Redmond micro market has a pricing problem that has been exposed by recent trends, and that most buyers walking into it still don't see clearly. Let's look at what has happened. Redmond saw a 10% year-over-year price decline in first quarter of 2026, the steepest correction of any major Eastside city. The Eastside luxury data from Northwest MLS shows the Eastside median falling from 1.68 million in quarter 1 2025 to 1.52 million in quarter 1 2026. And the specific driver in Redmond is something I have been watching closely, the Microsoft factor. Redmond's entire premium, particularly for the campus adjacent and downtown pocket, is built on one thing: proximity to Microsoft's headquarters. That is a single employer dependency that inflates prices in ways that don't survive stress testing. And there are 3 specific pressure on that thesis right now. First, hybrid work. Microsoft, like almost every major tech company, has permanently shifted towards hybrid work schedules for a significant portion of its workforce. When employees are in the office 2 to 3 days a week rather than 5, the value of being a 10-minute drive from campus drops substantially. The premium you are paying for that proximity has a smaller numerator than it did in 2019. Second, the campus renovation. Microsoft is in the middle of a massive multi-year campus renovation. The $10 billion redevelopment project is ongoing. If you are buying a home adjacent to or near a Microsoft campus right now, you are living next to a construction zone and will be for years. Third, the tech sector recalibration. I'm not predicting that Microsoft is going anywhere, but we have watched the tech sector go through meaningful contraction and recalibration since 2022. Hiring freezes, layoffs, remote work shifts. The idea that any single employer tech campus will drive housing demand upward indefinitely in a straight line has been tested and found wanting. At roughly 1.34 million median, even after a 10% correction, the downtown Redmond and campus adjacent pocket is still pricing in a version of the world where Microsoft's campus is undisputed center of Eastside gravity. That world is more complicated than it was. The smarter alternative, Education Hill, within Redmond or Woodinville. Within Redmond itself, Education Hill is consistently overlooked by buyers who focus on the downtown and campus corridor. Education Hill sits on the northeastern edge of the city. Higher elevation, more space, quieter streets, bigger lots, and genuinely beautiful. Northwest contemporary homes and mid-century ramblers that you almost never find in the denser campus pocket. You are still in Redmond, same city school, but you are typically paying $150K to $250K less per comparable home because you are not in the premium address zone around the campus. And then there's Woodinville, which is my single favorite underappreciated market on the east side right now. Woodinville is the only place in the entire metro that gives you genuine wine county living within reasonable commuting distance. Over 100 wineries and tasting rooms, including Chateau, Saint Michel, and Columbia Winery. This is a cultural identity you cannot manufacture, and no other Eastside city has it. The property mix in Woodinville is genuinely distinctive. Hollywood Hill. Hollywood Hill estates on acre-plus parcels, Wellington master plan family neighborhoods, Cottage Lake waterfront homes, and a growing downtown that has brought new construction and new amenities into a setting that still feels like Pacific Northwest rather than a tech suburb. Woodinville's average price per square foot was up 7.6% year-over-year in December 2025. Healthy appreciation. While the median has softened from its peak, giving buyers an entry point that did not exist 18 months ago. If you can work from home 2 to 3 weeks a day and you commute to Redmond or Bellevue on the other days via SR 202 or SR 405, Woodinville's quality of life to price ratio is the best I can point to anywhere on the east side right now. The bigger picture? Let me give you the framework I use every time I sit down with a relocation buyer because I think it's more useful than a list of neighborhoods. There are 3 things buyers in this market consistently overpay for. First, the famous name. Mercer Island, West Bellevue, Downtown Kirkland. These are names that generate emotional demand from people who haven't lived here yet. That emotional demand is real money built into the price. The counterintuitive truth is that neighborhoods with less name recognition often deliver more home, more space, and more day-to-day livability because their prices reflect functional demand, not brand demand. 2. Proximity theater. Being 8 minutes from a campus versus 18 minutes from a campus costs you, in many cases, several $100,000. With hybrid work, that delta in commute time is now relevant maybe 2 to 3 days a week. Do the math on what that 10-minute difference actually cost you per commute trip. You will find it's the most expensive 10-minute you will ever buy. And 3, the view tax. Lake views and mountain views are genuinely wonderful. I'm not dismissing that. But there is a premium charged for views in this market that often far exceeds what the actual incremental lifestyle improvement justifies. A view from a hill in Issaquah or Education Hill or Kennydale can be extraordinary and priced dramatically below a comparable view in a premium zip code. The buyers I have seen do best in this market are the ones who came in with a lifestyle list: schools, commute, outdoor access, walkability, space, and let the data lead them to the neighborhood rather than starting with the neighborhood and letting the brand justify the price. That's what I do for every client I work with, and it is almost always a better outcome. So here's what we have covered in this video. Instead of Sammamish, seriously look at Issaquah. Instead of Kirkland waterfront, explore Kenmore or Bothell. Instead of Mercer Island, consider Lower Kennydale in Renton. Instead of West Bellevue, Medina, evaluate Clyde Hill or South Bellevue. Instead of Downtown Redmond campus corridor, explore Education Hill or Woodinville. Every single one of these alternatives will give you a version of the lifestyle that attracted you to premium neighborhood at a significantly more defensible price point. In a market where inventory is up, prices have softened, and buyers have leverage they haven't had in years, the window to take advantage of this market is not permanent. It tends to close when interest rates fall and demand surges back. Right now, if you're patient and strategic, you can buy more home in a better position than any time since 2019. If you want to have this conversation about your specific situation, your budget, your commute, your school priorities, I would genuinely love to talk. The link to connect with me is right below. No obligation, no pitch, just a real conversation. And if this video gave you something useful, hit the like button and subscribe. I post real data-driven content anyone navigating the Seattle metro real estate market. See you in the next one.